I think one significant development, Antonio Brown, limited in practice, a good sign that he'll be able to play. They don't need him, but man, if they have him, that's a much better offense given the way that he performed down the stretch.
Yeah, no question, Mike. And he leads the team in targets when he's played. Obviously, he played 8 regular season games in the first 2 postseason games and then missed the NFC Championship game. But he can be a factor in this game. The last time he was in the Super Bowl was his rookie season. He had 1 catch for 1 yard. I listened to his entire press conference today. He was non-committal on whether he'd be able to play or not, but I would expect him to be out there if he can go at all. And considering he was limited today in practice, Mike, I think he will be able to go.
You know, I also saw some tweets in which he was characterized as painting himself as a victim for the challenges he's faced. He's not the victim. Now look, are there other issues that have caused him to engage in certain antisocial behaviors over the past couple of years? I'm willing to grant him that possibility. I'm willing to say that he hasn't consciously and deliberately been a jerk, that he consciously and deliberately hasn't been someone who did things that have gotten him in trouble. But still, he's responsible ultimately and fundamentally for the adversity that he's faced. This isn't something that someone else unfairly threw upon him. Again, it may be the product of some condition that requires treatment and evaluation, but it's no one else's fault other than his. So that bothers me, and I think a lot of people are bothered by that. And I have no problem with a redemption story, but I don't think you qualify for redemption, Charean, if you never acknowledge that at some level you're responsible for what's happened and therefore qualify for redemption. You don't qualify for redemption until you acknowledge that you need to be redeemed.
Yeah, and I think all these redemption stories that we're reading and hearing about, Mike, I do think we have to remember that. He's not the victim here, definitely not. And I'll give him this. He's done everything, presumably, and he talked about this in his interview today, the right way since he's come to Tampa. So I hope he's gotten the help he needed, as he says he has, and that things have turned around in his life. I do hope that. I hope that for any player. I don't care if I like the player or don't like the player. I hope any player that wants to turn his life around, that's the most important thing. So I hope he's done that. But let's all remember, Mike, he is not the victim here.
Now, all of the injured Buccaneers practiced with the exception of Jason Pierre-Paul, who has a knee injury. Other guys who are questionable, not officially yet. We won't find out till Friday, but at least unofficially questionable for now. You've got Levante David with the hamstring injury. There is the ankle problem for Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead, the shoulder injury he suffered in the NFC Championship, but all practiced on a limited basis except JPP. For the Chiefs, everyone except Eric Fisher, who has a ruptured Achilles tendon, and Willie Gay, who I think whatever happened to him, I can't remember what it was, Charean, but I think he's out already. I don't think he's going to play, but all of the other Chiefs practiced.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. And so both teams are pretty much going to be at full strength aside. We've talked a lot about that Chiefs offensive line, and they're going to move the parts around. Mike Reimers obviously will start at left tackle, and they won't have Eric Fisher. They won't have Mitchell Schwartz. So that offensive line is going to look a little bit different. But for the most part, for the players we expect to have, I think we're going to see those players on the field on Sunday. Important for the Bucs, as we've said repeatedly, to have those 2 starting safeties out there because they do make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Chiefs receiving core is going to test the defense, especially on the back end, repeatedly. And if it's anything like it was in Week 12, they better be ready to go, and they better not single cover Tyreek Hill because I think he was on pace for 1,000 yards for the entire game halfway through the first quarter. Tony Romo exaggerated that, or at least he thought he did. Peter King did the math. It was like 998 that Tyreek Hill was on pace for.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.